people using justice to try and win an election. But I'm proud of that chart. It was in with other things that are very important, but there's something about the importance of this that I really thought we could show it, and sometimes we'll take it out, show it to some of these big crowds. When I return to the White House, we will stop the plunder, rape, slaughter, and destruction of American suburbs, cities, and towns. And for the suburban women, who I actually think vote for me, I think that's, you know, they say... They say the suburban women. What, you like? You saw Biden. You like Biden? Yeah. The suburban women. You know why they like me? Because I'm going to keep them safe. I'm going to keep them safe. We're going to keep them safe. And I think it's fake. I think we do great with suburban women. But I always read, he's trying to get the suburban women. No, I think they like me because I'm going to keep them safe. Militarily and also from the standpoint of borders and everything else. We will shut down deadly sanctuary cities. I will shift massive portions of federal law enforcement to immigration enforcement. And on day one, we will begin the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. And we have no choice. Have no choice. And as we discussed last night with Crooked Joe, the Biden border invasion has also been a disaster. And I say it, and I'll say it again, for the African-American, Hispanic-American communities more than anybody else, virtually all of the net jobs created have gone to Biden migrants. Who would think that? I heard that a week ago. I said, you got to give me that stat. Almost every job, did you know that? It's hard to believe, actually. Almost every new job has gone to illegal immigrants. Joe Biden wants to be the president for illegal aliens, and I want to be the president for Americans of every background, every walk of life, every race, religion, color, and creed. And remember, Joe Biden used the term super predators. He used it for 10 years. He used it more than anybody else. That's not a man that likes black people. I will tell you, that's not a man. Super predator. Ask him about it. I brought it up last night. He went, oh. Super predator, ask him. And honestly, only black people know what that term represents. 1990s, Joe Biden, super predator for 10 years. Every day, more African Americans and Hispanic Americans are joining our movement, and that's one of the major reasons that we're going to win the Commonwealth of Virginia this fall. And our case to Virginia is very simple. We will seal the border. We will make the American dream affordable again. But we will bring back the American dream, something you don't hear about anymore. You're going to have the American dream back. Working with your great governor, Glenn Youngkin, we will make Virginia greater than it has ever been before. Under my leadership, we had the greatest economy in the history of the world. That was proven time and time again. During my term, we had gasoline down to $1.87 a gallon. And by the way, take a look at gasoline. It's going up rapidly. Do you see what's going on? That's going up. And by the end, the 30-year mortgage, think of this, was 2.6%. It was 2.6% interest. And you know what it is now? It's 10%, but you can't get the money. So the American dream of owning a house is impossible. When I left office, inflation was almost nothing. How about this guy going around saying it was 9%? No, it was 9% when he didn't enter. About 14 months after he got in, he had to go from almost nothing to 9%. But he had a period where he had what they call the Trump float. He had all the good things, including the bounce-back jobs that they took. They said all these pandemic jobs, we said, close it down, do whatever you want. And then when it opens, they're called bounce-back jobs. And they bounce back to bigger than where it was before. He takes the credit for it. You don't take credit for a bounce back. Joe Biden accidentally admitted last night, quote, there was no inflation when I became president. He made a mistake. That was where I said, did you mean that, Joe? You mean you're... Now, Virginia families are being crushed by Crooked Joe. You can't afford groceries, rent, a house, a car payment, or anything else. I think your real rate of inflation, by the way, they say 24, 25%. I think if you really add the right items and you include interest where you can't get a mortgage, But if you do, you're going to pay much more than 10%. I think your rate of inflation is 35 to 50%, and that's killing this country. It's a country buster. It's a family buster. It's busting up everything. We have the highest inflation, in my opinion, in the history of our country. In fact, Biden didn't have inflation for the first, so he didn't have it for many, many months because I gave him something that was beautiful. I gave him a clean, beautiful border. All he had to do was leave Tom Homan and leave these great people. You know, Brandon Judd, great. Oh, and he had a news conference today because Biden last night used his name in vain. He said, I never supported Biden and I never would. He said, I support Trump. I don't support Biden. He has no support. He doesn't have support from one police group anywhere in the country. Frankly, he's a defunder. If you want to know, defund the police. That's another brilliant policy that they have. And then like a nightmare, it all began. But on day one of my new administration, we will throw out Bidenomics and we will replace it. We are going to replace it with Maganomics. 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 To stop Bidenflation, I will end Joe Biden's colossal waste of American taxpayer dollars, and I will rapidly terminate a thing called the Green New Scam. It's the greatest scam in the history of our country. We're spending trillions and trillions of dollars on nonsense, on things that all they do is cause waste and inflation. I will repeal every disastrous Biden regulation. He's adding them back as fast as he can, killing our jobs. Cancel Crooked Joe's insane electrical, think of it, the electric vehicle mandate. It's called the EV mandate. And we will do something like we've never done it before, although we did it pretty good 5 years ago. You know, 5 years ago, we were totally non-reliant on oil and gas from other countries. We were going to soon be energy dominant. We were going to be sending it out to Europe, all over the world. Nobody had ever seen anything like it. And then this guy ended it. Then prices went up and he started saying, oh, let him drill, let him drill. But if this election went bad, our country is going to be destroyed. But they will go back to that policy on the day after it opens up. And you're going to have electric bills that will be triple what they are now. Because when we get in, we're going to have a very simple phrase. We will drill, baby, drill. We're going to drill, baby, drill. Think of it. 4 years ago, we were energy independent. Now we're begging Venezuela, one of the safest places on earth. It's true. Though their crime rate is down to the lowest that they've ever had. Their crime rate is down 72% because they've taken all of their criminals, they've taken all of their prisoners, they've taken all of their drug lords, drug dealers. They've taken all of their gang members and brought them to the United States of America. Congratulations. Congratulations, everybody. And they brought them in, so their crime rate is, wait, you have here, the crime is down 72%. They've taken their criminals and they deposited, and then they just got up 2 weeks ago and said, under no circumstances will we take any of them back. So here's what we're going to do. Next year, we're all going to meet as a group. And if this guy, it's not even conceivable that he's in. I hate to even want to suggest it. Let's say in a few months we'll do this. We're going to meet again. We're going to meet in Venezuela because it's the safest place on earth. You know, in Caracas, a year ago, 2 years ago, you had no chance of walking across the street if you were a woman without being accosted, beat up, shot, knifed to death. Now it's a very safe city, because they've moved everybody into the United States of America. How stupid are we? How stupid are we? And their crime rate's way down. And all over the world, their prison populations are down. And the fake news, look at them, all of them back there. The fake news doesn't want to talk about it. They say Donald Trump has a conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy. No, it's not conspiracy. And by the way, if I were one of the presidents or dictators, as I call them. Most of them are dictators, but they go under the term president. But I know them all very well. I would have been doing better than them. I would have had 100% over in this country by now. They're emptying their prisons. You know what that is? They're emptying their mental institutions into our country. Do you know the money they save? The money is massive. And we have all the problems. Nothing good is going to come out. And we have ISIS terrorists. We have terrorists pouring into our country. Just bad, bad things are going to happen. And it's all because of this incompetent president, the worst president in history. If he gets back in, Joe Biden has also vowed to pulverize Virginia families with the largest tax hikes in history. Congratulations. He pledged that the Trump tax cuts are, quote, going to expire, and if I'm elected, it's going to stay expired. That means he's going to raise your taxes by 4 times. This would be the largest. You know that, Len. He wants to give you the largest tax increase in the history of our country. It's going to decimate Virginia, and it's going to decimate every state, and it's not his fault. You'll have to take the heat. Maybe that's what they're doing. You'll have to take the heat. But they want to decimate because those tax cuts went more to the middle class and the lower class than to anybody else, and the creation of jobs. But instead of a Biden tax increase, I will deliver a Trump, and call it a Trump middle class tax cut. And all of my life, I said it last night, I've watched as politicians cut taxes. This guy wants to raise your taxes by 4 times, and people say, oh, let's vote for him. I don't know. They don't use the term liberal anymore. They use the term progressive, you know, because it's a nice-sounding word. I'm a progressive. But it's not a good word. It's a really bad word. And we will have a brand-new Trump economic boom. We're going to cut taxes. So we cut taxes substantially, massively, the biggest tax. And with a lower rate, we did much more business, much more revenue than we had before the cuts. In other words, we just did better. And Apple and Microsoft, all these companies were bringing their money back from offshore countries, from other countries. They were bringing it back into the United States because they essentially weren't allowed to from a practical standpoint because the tax was so high and the bureaucracy of doing it was almost impossible, they say. So we're going to do more tax cutting. And we're going to have this country at a level that you've never seen it before. And we're going to, you know, underfoot, under the ground, we have more liquid gold, oil and gas than any country on earth. And, you know, we had a thing called ANWR in Alaska. Ronald Reagan wanted to get it approved. He couldn't do it. Everybody wanted to get it approved. I got it approved. The first week of Biden, they disapproved it. The greatest tax, the greatest reserves, they say, outside of perhaps Saudi Arabia, could be greater than Saudi Arabia. Would have been so great for Alaska, but would have been great for this country. Massive, massive oil reserves, and they turned it down. These people are horrible. I've announced that as part of those tax cuts, I will eliminate all taxes on tips. A very simple statement. No taxes on tips. I got that idea the other night. I'm in Las Vegas at my place, which is a very nice place, having dinner with some people, big people, successful people, talking about the future of the country, and they're very worried about it. And the waitress came over. I said, how are you doing? Been there for a long time. And she said, they're killing me on tips. I said, really? They go after you? He said, you have no idea. They just issued new regulations that make it impossible for us to live. And I was actually surprised to hear it. No taxes on tips. And when I announced that last week, you know, my phone's lit up. I never saw anything like that. That was a very popular thing to announce, but it's a good thing. You earn the money, you keep the money. Every time you leave a tip for the next 5 months, make sure to write on the receipt, vote for Trump for no taxes on tips. It's no wonder Joe Biden and his thugs are so desperate to stop us. They know that we are the only ones who can stop them. A great thing just happened a few hours ago. You probably heard about it, but maybe you didn't, because some of you have been standing on line for 3 days. Do you know that? These people, right, they've been online for 3 days to get into your place, Glenn. This is crazy. You must have heard that Glenn is going to be here with his superstar son. We do, right? Don't we? I think he's great. Doing great. But just this happened a few hours ago. The Supreme Court ruled that Biden's Department of Justice has wrongly prosecuted hundreds of Americans for peacefully protesting on January 6th. those people have been treated so badly, especially when you compare them with people that ripped apart and killed people in Portland and in Seattle and in other places. They have been treated so badly. So we're asking, based on the decision, they should immediately be released, immediately, the J6 hostages. But all of these people, whether it's the thugs in Portland, the thugs of Seattle, the thugs of Minneapolis. How about Minneapolis? It was burning down. Remember the guy from CNN? Although I shouldn't knock CNN because I actually thought they treated me very fairly last night. Very professional, both of them. Jake and Dana, they treated us very fairly. They abused me for years, but last night, right? What happened? They treated me very fairly. I think it's great. I think it was great for them. It was great for CNN, but I thought they were very fair. But all of those thugs, and then you take the monument-wrecking thugs of Washington, D.C. Remember they came into Washington? And, you know, you thought maybe there was a little bit of a racial anger. But then they wanted to take down the statue of Abraham Lincoln. I'm saying, what's this all about? But they only wanted to do things until I got tough with them and imposed a 10-year jail sentence on anyone for so much as touching any one of our magnificent monuments. And it was amazing to watch them flee the city. They fled. They fled the city very rapidly from that moment on. You know, I brought out an old law that had been done in the early 1900s, and it said that if you touch a statue, you get a maximum fine of 10 years in jail, and you can't do anything about it. It's 10 years in jail, and that's it. So I reinstated that law. You could never have a law like that passed today because it's too tough. They don't do things. Until the country's really in trouble, they won't do things. But I took it out. I reenacted it, and as soon as I did, in other words, 10 years in jail if you get caught doing anything to one of our beautiful monuments or statues. They fled Washington. It was a beautiful sight. I watched them go up. Look at them go. Look at them go. No, because it's what they understand. But based on the Supreme Court, the great Supreme Court, we put 3 incredible justices on. They had, I understand, another 3. And they did the right thing. Free the J6 hostages now. They should free them now for what they've gone through. They've been waiting for this decision for a long time. They've been waiting for a long time, and that was a great answer. That was a great thing for people that have been so horribly treated. So many of these people were told to go in, right? The police, go in, go in, go in. What's going on? And they put them in jail for years and years. All of their persecution is only happening, and all of it has happened to me because I'm running for president and leading very substantially in all of the polls, every single poll. We're leading in every state. We're even leading in the state, or as you would say, the Commonwealth of Virginia. No, we're leading in the Commonwealth, and I'm glad I corrected that, right? If I didn't correct it, well, they'll put it on tonight. They'll have it cut just prior to, they'll cut it just prior to. No, the Commonwealth is great, but we're leading, and it could be a very substantial lead, but we have one poll with 2 up, another one with 3 up, another one with 4 up, one we're even, but that was a very Democrat poll. I don't believe that. But we're going to make Virginia greater than ever before. I hope you get out and do this, because these people are destroying our country. As you saw last night, it's all coming straight from Crooked Joe himself because he thinks it's the only way that he can win. All of this persecution of people, it's all coming from Joe Biden and his thugs, because I'm not even sure he knows what the hell's going on. But he's surrounded by vicious thugs. He's surrounded by fascists and communists. But since the show trial in New York, my poll numbers have increased so substantially, nobody's seen anything like it. And I think last night will not detract from that. And fundraising, as I said, is at an all-time high. The radical left Democrats rigged the presidential election in 200. Think of this. They rigged the election in 2020 like nobody's ever seen before. And we're not going to allow them to rig the presidential election in 2024. We're not going to allow it to happen. And every time the radical left Democrats, Marxists, communists, and fascists, every time they indict me, I consider it a great badge of honor because I'm being indicted for you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Never forget, our enemies want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they're not after me. They're after you. I just happen to be standing in their way, and I always will. So we're thrilled to be joined today by many outstanding Virginia patriots, great people, including the next senator from the Commonwealth of Virginia, Hung Cao. He's going to be, I think he's going to be great. You're going to win. What do you think? Is he going to win, Glenn? You're going to help him? We got to help. Hey, Glenn, should we have him come up for a second? Come on up. We got to get him to win. Because let me tell you, his opponent is terrible. He's just terrible. Hung is a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy, and he served with special operations in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Somalia. He was one of the most brave guys. They talk about it. He's become a legend, and that's why he's running. And now he's running to fight for the hardworking people of Virginia. Hung Cao will vote to secure our borders, stop Joe Biden's inflation nightmare, and crack down on violent crime. He will vote for low taxes, low regulations, and low energy prices, and he is a warrior. He'll support our police and our veterans, and most importantly, Hung Cao will defeat a terrible senator, a man who's got very little respect in Washington, D.C. His name is Tim Kaine. Nobody respects him. They call him a walking mat. He votes for anything Biden wants. He's got a 100% record of voting for Crooked Joe. Tim Kaine has voted repeatedly to continue Joe Biden's border invasion. I don't know how you people, this is killing you, and yet this guy votes all the time to keep it going. Tim Kaine. Let the people pour into our country, even if they're criminals, even if they're mental patients. He voted to protect deadly sanctuary cities. He voted for the largest proposed amnesty plan and tax plan in American history. He voted against Kate's Law think of that, how do you vote against Kate's Law? And he voted to terminate Title 42. He voted to give illegal aliens taxpayer-funded benefits, the likes of which nobody has ever seen, including our great veterans. Virginia cannot afford 6 more years of Tim Kaine and his open borders agenda. Everybody's got to get out and vote for Hung Cao. I love this name. He is really going to be great. Hung, say a few words, please.
Mr. President, the only person better off today than they were 4 years ago is an illegal alien. We're going to fight for America. We're going to put Americans first, like we always have, with your leadership, sir.
Go get him. Listen. Telling you, he's going to win. Man, that guy he's got a serious handshake. Well, I'm sorry, but I think my hand may be broken. He's a tough cookie. That's a serious handshake you have. Thank you. You're going to win. You're going to win. A lot of people are going to win that nobody's thinking of, and it's amazing what's happening. What's happening is really amazing. But this is a guy who's going to win, and you're going to be proud of him for many, many years. We're also grateful to be joined by the governor of this magnificent Commonwealth. His name happens to be Glenn Youngkin, and he's one of the greatest governors in the country. And I know he just spoke, but I'd love to have him come up and say a few additional words. Thank you very much.
Here we go. Vice President. Okay, Virginia, are you ready to win? Mr. President, This is the best Trump rally that you have ever had, and you're doing it in Virginia. And yes, on behalf of 8.7 million Virginians, Mr. President, we are going to go to work and get you back in the White House.
He really is. He's a great governor doing an incredible job, and we appreciate it. He's also a tall governor, very tall governor. The only one I know taller is my son, Barrett. That kid is tall. And he's a good boy, and he sees this country, and it distresses him when he sees what's happening at a young age. People understand. Smart people understand. But I want to thank the governor for the great job he's done in the Commonwealth. It's done an incredible job, and everybody's talking about it, too. Thanks as well to Virginia Attorney General Jason Mears. Jason Mears. Where's Jason? Come on, Jason, let's go. What the hell is a Friday? Come on. Come on, Jason. I hear great things. All I know is Glenn tells me he's doing a great job as Attorney General. I don't have to hear anymore. That's the one that matters. Come on, Jason.
Well, I first, as the Attorney General, as a top law enforcement official in the Commonwealth, I have to say, Mr. President, after seeing last night's debate, I instructed my adult abuse investigators to investigate the DNC for forcing Joe Biden to run for president. But when we talk about what's at stake at this election, it's three simple initials: USA.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney General. Is everybody having a good time? So one of the great congressmen, a person who knows more about our military, I think, than maybe anybody, he's from a wonderful state known as Florida, and he's highly respected by everybody he knows, just a real professional, and he hates seeing what he's seeing because he sees our country, a nation in decline is what he sees, and it's very sad to watch, but we're going to turn it around. Congressman Michael Waltz. Thank you, Michael. Great job. And Michael would agree that Congresswoman Jen Kiggans is a fantastic talent, a fantastic woman. Where is she? She is doing a great job. Thank you very much, Jen. Thank you. Great job. Everyone tells me, look, Secret Service won't let her up. Secret Service, they're tough. They don't play games. Thank you very much, Jen. We appreciate it. Thank you. A man who was treated very unfairly by the thugs, the same thugs that we're going to dethrone, like a deranged Jack Smith. He's a deranged person. How's he doing? I don't think he's doing so well. He's a deranged person, but he gave a man named Bob McDonnell, your former governor, he gave him a very unfair, they all did, they gave him a very unfair treatment, but Bob has done incredibly well. He went through it, and he's a great guy. Former Governor Bob McDonnell. Thank you very much. The deranged one we have. You're not a fan. You're not a fan of those guys, right, Bob? And now Bob showed them for what they are. Former governor and a really wonderful senator and a good guy and a friend of mine, George Allen. George, thank you. Thank you, George. I knew his father very well, and his father was a great coach. He was really a good coach. He knew how to win, right? He knew how to win. Former Governor Jim Gilmore. Jim, thank you. Thank you, Jim. Congressional nominees Lori Buck out, Lori. Thank you. Good luck. Oh, you're going to do well. You're scheduled to win. They have you down. Another one scheduled to win, Derek Anderson. Good. You're going to do great. We're going to get it. He's running against one of the Vindman twins. Vindman, is that correct? The Vindman twins, these are the worst people. You got to win that race, Derek. They are the worst people. They reported a false conversation. They made up a story about a certain conversation that was false. And they act like they're hot stuff. They're not. All they have to do is look in the mirror and they'll realize. And look at this guy. He's like a movie star, right? Look at this guy. No, the brothers, they're twins. And I heard one is worse than the other. I think you're running against the worst one. We're going to fight for you. You got to win that race. You got to teach the Vindmans. We got to get them out. And another man who started a little bit down to somebody, I won't mention his name. I will not mention his name. Bob Good, I won't mention his name. And Bob Good was terrible to me for 3 years. And I used to say, who is this guy? And then for the last 6 months, he was great. But I couldn't forget the 3 years, so I had to make a decision. And we had a man named John McGuire, who was a Navy SEAL. And, you know, I know a lot of tough guys, and they wanted to be Navy SEALs. It was their dream to be a Navy SEAL. That's all they thought about. And in many cases, like sons of friends of mine, they want to be a Navy SEAL. They couldn't get there. It's a very tough thing to do. It's really tough. Guys at the perfect physical specimens, everything great, and they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. And this guy is a full-fledged Navy SEAL at the highest level. And he beat an opponent who was a leader, a big leader in the House, a Republican leader. And Bob McGuire, you're going to have a great race. You're going to win, and you are a hero. Thank you very much. That was amazing. That was amazing. It was an honor to endorse him. You know, he started off, not a lot of people knew him. I endorsed him, and he went up 27 points. And he ended up winning by, like, doesn't matter, a few hundred votes. We'll take it. Doesn't matter. 2 votes is okay, too. What a great campaign you ran. Congratulations. He's a Navy SEAL. Thank you very much, John. John McGuire, everybody. And also a man who's a tough cookie, and he's doing a great job. Virginia GOP Chair, Rich Anderson. He says we're going to win. Rich, thank you. Are we going to win, right? We got to win. Oh, by the way, we win Virginia, the race is over. You understand that? So I don't want to put any pressure on Randy and on Glenn and on everybody else, but we win Virginia, you know, it's over. It's over. I saw that today. They said if he wins Virginia on top of everything else, it's over. And former Congressman, good guy, Randy Forbes. Randy, thank you. Thank you. You look good. Thank you, Randy. Above all, because we are near so many military facilities, I want to salute every single U.S. service member and veteran in the audience today. We have the highest rating with the veterans of any president. Thank you. So let's have a big round of applause for the men and women of the United States Armed Forces. Under the Trump administration, we fully rebuilt the U.S. military, and we created Space Force. We totally defeated the ISIS territorial caliphate 100%. We did it in 4 weeks. They said it was going to take 5 years. We extinguished the founder and leader of ISIS, al-Baghdadi. We terminated the worst top terrorist, Qasem Soleimani. These are the 2 top terrorists in the world. We left Iran weak and broke and begging to make a deal. They wanted to make a deal so badly. We would have made a deal. We would have made a good deal for them. But then we had the rigged election, and now we have an incompetent president. We stood with our friends and ally in the state of Israel. We recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. And we recognized Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights, something they were trying to do for 70 years. And with the Abraham Accords, we made peace in the Middle East at a level that nobody has ever seen, the Abraham Accords. We had Russia, China, and North Korea in check, and I was the first president in decades who started no new wars. Instead, I brought our troops back home. We brought them all back home. If I was president, the war in Ukraine would never have happened. The October 7th attack on Israel would never have happened. The Russian nuclear submarines would not be circling Cuba 60 miles off our Miami coast. Think of it. We have Russian submarines circling Cuba, and the fake news media doesn't want to talk about it. If you were president, they'd be calling for your indictment. If Bob was president, but you could handle it, you've proven that. If anybody was president that was a Republican, they don't even talk about it. Think of it. We have Russian submarines and Russian warships in Cuba, and Cuba's right next to Miami, in case you don't know. Can you imagine? And the fake news media, those people right there with all those cameras, they don't want to talk about it. For our great veterans, we passed VA accountability and VA choice, two things they said were impossible to get passed. And while Joe Biden pretends to be a defender of veterans, Crooked Joe has tried to rehire the sadists who mistreated our great. You know, we fired 9,000 people out of the VA because they were sadistic, they were sadists, they were hurting our veterans, they were thieves, they were crooks, they were bullies. We fired 9,000. Biden now wants to hire them all back. He's trying to reinstate 5,000 poorly performing VA. These are all people that I fired, VA employees that I fired, and give them back full pay. We fired them because they were sadists and they were bullies and they were hurting people that weren't in prime time. It'll cost us $200 million in back pay. This is what he wants. He wants to put the thugs back into the VA, and people are not happy. On day one of my new administration, I will fully restore the use of VA accountability and direct my Secretary of Veterans Affairs. And by the way, all this stuff passed Congress. I got to pass Congress. It wasn't just an executive order. And direct my Secretary of Veterans Affairs, my last one did a great job, to fire every corrupt abuser of our veterans who Joe Biden wants to keep on the payroll, wants to have them back. As Commander-in-Chief, I will defend our military, I will always honor our veterans, and I will restore peace through strength. Before I even arrive at the Oval Office, shortly after we win the presidency, we win the presidency, I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine totally settled. I know a good guy who could settle it. That guy right there, Glenn. He would settle it. He did some pretty tough deals. You have good experience for settling. Yesterday's debate should make it clearer than ever how important it is to elect a competent president who will prevent World War III. I'm the only one that can say it. I know every one of those players, and they respect us. In my next term, we will build a great iron dome over our country, a dome the likes of which no one has ever seen before, a state-of-the-art missile defense shield that will be entirely built and made in the USA. And largely in the Commonwealth of Virginia. A lot of it is expected to be done right here in Virginia. You know, Israel has a dome, but we have technology. Ronald Reagan wanted it to happen years ago, but we didn't have the technology, in all fairness, then. But he wanted it. But now we have incredible technology. As you know, 300 missiles were recently shot at Israel, and 299 were knocked down, and one was basically disabled. So they stopped 300 missiles from going into Israel. And we were going to have a better dome, a more technologically capable dome. And we're going to build a great dome over this country because we deserve it. We deserve it. Despite Joe Biden's flagrant lies on the debate stage, I will not cut one penny from Social Security or Medicare, which is what he is going to do. He's destroying Social Security. I kept that promise for 4 straight years, and I'll keep it again. Remember, I didn't increase. I didn't do. You know, they talk about Russia. Russia, under Bush, took land. Russia, under Obama, took land. Russia, under Biden, is going to take the whole thing, it looks like. Russia, under Trump, took nothing. They took nothing. It's true. True. Pinocchio Joe lied about all the things that I did to preserve Social Security. He's going to destroy Social Security by allowing all of these people in and using it. Remember that, Congressman. You got to stop him. And even his lies about now the inexpensive insulin. So I was the one that got you the inexpensive, not him. That was done 3 years ago. And the sad thing, it came due 2 years later. And I said, you mean if I lose this race? That was at the time. The new president's going to get credit. And he goes around talking about how he did insulin. I did the insulin, where the seniors get insulin at a very low price. By contrast, Joe Biden has cut Medicare Advantage payments for 2 straight years, a total betrayal to our seniors. Biden has cut Advantage payments. We're going to rebuild our cities into beacons of hope, safety, and beauty, better than they have ever been before. We will take our horribly run capital of our nation in Washington, D.C., and clean it up, renovate it, and rebuild a capital the likes of which that even we haven't seen in its prime. We will get rid of the murder and the crime. You go from Virginia to take a tour of the Capitol, look at the great monuments and all, you end up getting shot, mugged, knifed. We're going to clean it up, and we're going to get rid of all the crime. There's not going to be any crime. On day one, I will sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and any other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content onto the shoulders of our children. And I will not give 1 penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or a mask mandate. And I will keep men out of women's sports. And fully uphold, of course, the totally under siege Second Amendment. We will protect innocent life, and we will restore free speech, and I will secure our elections like never before. Our elections will be one-day voting with paper ballots, proof of citizenship, and voter ID. Very simple. But until then, Republicans must win. We're going to count on Virginia more than just about any place else. We're so close. This would be an incredible historic victory. We want a landslide that's, and remember this term, too big to rig. We want a landslide that's too big to rig. If it's too big to rig, if it's too big, they can't rig it. They're going to try. They're bad. They have no shame. If you took the 10 worst presidents in the history of the United States and added them up, they would not have done the near, think of it, they wouldn't have done near the destruction to our country as Joe Biden and the Biden administration has done. So if you want to save America, go out, get your family, get your friends, get everyone you know, and vote. Vote early, vote absentee, vote on Election Day. But whatever you do, you have to go out and vote. You have to vote. And if you want us to help ensure election integrity, sign up to Protect the Vote. It's very simple. Get out and help us. ProtectTheVote.com. Very simple. Protect, because we don't need votes. We need protection of the votes once they're cast, because these people will do anything to stay in power. So ProtectTheVote.com. Help us protect the vote. We're going to protect it. And we have law enforcement. Every law enforcement agency in Virginia and every other place has endorsed us. They're going to all be watching. From Fredericksburg to Williamsburg, from Alexandria to Norfolk, and from Roanoke to Richmond, to right here in Chesapeake, Virginia. It's been the home of some of the greatest American heroes ever to walk the face of the earth. This is the place where George Washington led the patriots of the Continental Army to victory at Yorktown. What a history you have. Virginia was the home of Thomas Jefferson, who wrote those immortal words, "All men are created equal." And Virginia gave us James Madison, James Monroe, Lewis and Clark, Booker T. Washington, Ella Fitzgerald, the Bedford Boys who gave their lives on D-Day, and Patrick Henry, who declared Give me liberty or give me death. Pretty good. That's a pretty good history. That's not bad. You know, I stop at a lot of states. They don't quite have a lot of that, right, Governor? Together, they help build America into the greatest and most exceptional nation in the history of the world. But now we are a nation that is in serious decline. We are a failing nation. Very sad thing to say. We are a nation that has lost its confidence, willpower, and strength. We are a nation that has, quite honestly, lost its way. But we are not going to allow this horror to continue. Less than 4 years ago, we were a great nation, and we will soon be a great nation again. With the right leadership, every disaster Joe Biden has created can be fixed, and can be fixed really very, very quickly, and we will get it done fast. Every problem can be solved, and every wrong can be rectified. By this time next year, America's borders will be strong, sealed, and secure. Inflation will be in full retreat. Our economy will be roaring back. Optimism will be surging. The American dream will be thriving again for citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. Law and justice will reign all throughout our land. Freedom will be restored. The flame of liberty will be burning bright. Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of our country, will be a fading memory of the past, and our great silent majority, including the once forgotten men and women of our country, will be the ones shaping America's magnificent future when I am the 47th president of the United States. Because we are all Americans, and together we will show November 5th to be the most important day in the history of America. We are one movement, one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. And together we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. We will make America free again. And we will make America great again. Thank you very much, Virginia. God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you very much.